Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. How's everybody today? Got a couple things on tap for today. Hey, howdy, Biggie. Thanks for dropping on by. All right, glad you're not. Things worked out okay? I take it. Yep, so we've got, we're going to move into Chapter 5, Methods, today. And we're also going to talk about the Project 2 assignment. I'm sorry, yeah, the date here we had was the 22nd. So I think looks like almost everybody got it in, which is good. Maybe missing one, maybe? I gotta look and see. All right, so we'll talk about that today, and then we'll talk about Chapter 5 methods, and then we'll talk about the next project. Yep, so the next one here, we've got break coming up, we've got a midterm coming up, we've got, classes, and that might need to move. I don't think that's enough time. Yeah, I think what I want to do is move Project 4 to this week. That way you don't have to do anything over winter break, and then anyway you've got time to do it over these 2 weeks. So I think that's my idea. What do you guys think? If we move project 4 to 322, that way we've got more time for this project 3 that we're going to talk about today. I don't want you to have to get it done over break. And then the midterm week, I want you to worry about the midterm, not the project. And then we'll have time this week to work on it then. So you can work on it this week and this week to give you 2 weeks to work on it. I like that idea. What do you guys think? Should we take a vote? We can take a vote. Does it even need a vote? I don't know if it needs a vote. We can just do it. Right? Let's see. Gotta find where I keep the syllabus. I mean, we're already on version 2. All right, we're going to be on version 3, I guess. All right. Let's do that then. So let's move this one out to here. That's all we're going to do. So that way this one will be due on 322. We'll talk about project 4 on 322. I like that. I think that'll be good. All right, I'm going to save that. Oh, I should have saved it as V3. Oh, well. Probably fine. I can rename it and re-download the other one later. All right, so let's do that. Let me update it here in Canada, or D2L for you. I know what this tool's called. Got too many learning management systems. Okay. And you gotta stay hydrated. It's good for you. All right. So we got that, and then we'll talk about the project. How's that sound? So we fire up NetBeans. We'll go over a solution. Okay, again, so this is our lunar lander. Should have made it the Mars lander. Why was I thinking lunar lander? We just landed on Mars. Man. I want to control the Mars rover. Do you see did that video come out today? They had a video of it landing. That's going to be like 2 p.m. today or something, right? For landing video. Yeah. When is it? When is it? Yeah, 2 p.m. They're gonna you'll be able to watch it. How cool is that? That's super cool. All right, yeah, we should have done Mars. That's my mistake. All right, NetBeans. We're waiting on you. Oh. Thought I had more coffee. That's disappointing. All right. New project. Project 2 in our 1500 directory. Come on. 1500. There we go. Do I already have a project 2 in there? I do? All right, let me open that then. Project 2. We do something here? Close these other ones. No, it was empty. Okay. That's fine. That is fine. All right. So, a couple things we're going to do, right? We need to figure out how to send it commands to prepare to land. So we need to track the distance from the surface. We're going to start at 10, and we're going to have a random x-axis tilt and y-axis tilt. They go between -10 and +10. I think we looked at that last week with the random. Right? If we go up to 21, we're going to get 0 to 20. And if we back that up by 10, then we'll get -10 to +10. Then we got some list of commands we can do that will do certain things. And we just keep running that until the distance to the surface is 0. We ask them for a command, we do the thing, we go down by 1 if it was valid. If we land and our tilts are 0, we win, and then whether or not we want to play again. So a whole loop for do you want to play again, and then a loop for as long as the surface is greater than 0. Distance from surface is greater than 0. Okay? So we can tackle these a couple at a time if we want. Right? So if we're going to play at least once, it could be a do loop. Again, I hate do loops, so I'm just going to avoid it. So I'm going to say something like a string play again equals a y, and then we're going to start that loop, right? Because we want to be doing this over and over and over as many times as they want to play our amazing lunar lander game. Okay, so we're going to say while play again dot equals ignore case equals ignore case a y. We'll do something. And I know I set it to y, so I know it's going to run at least once. And then at the end, we're going to have to ask them if they want to play again or not. So we'll need a scanner here. Okay. And yes, we do want to import scanner. Thank you, NetBeans. So we'll ask them if they want to play again. We want to play again. Y n. And we'll have play again is the next line. Nope, next line. Okay. So that's if they want to play again. Wait, we're just going to build it out one little bit at a time, one little bit at a time. So let's try it. Right? We're going to build a little bit of code and run it. We're going to write a little bit of code and run it. We're going to write a little bit of code and run it. We want to see if we can get small features working little bit by little bit, like by little bit. Because if you wait till you write everything and then you hit run and it doesn't work, it's a little harder to find out why not. Right? So we'll say yes, 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 yes. Anything other than yes, and it should stop. Okay, so we feel pretty good about this loop working. Right? Think this is going to work because we tried it. It did a couple things here. Okay, and then the actual game itself then. So we're going to need a random number generator. So random equals any random. And we can set a couple values. So we're going to have an int for x tilt is random dot next int up to 21 minus 10. Right? And a y tilt equals random dot next int 21 minus 10. So those should give us random x and y's, and then we're going to have an int, I don't know, distance from surface or height or something. We're going to start off at 10. Right? And then all of this is going to happen. We're going to keep on looping while height is greater than 10. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Greater than 0. Yeah, as long as we're off the surface, we want to keep on looping, right? So maybe we want to tell them a couple things, right? Maybe we want to tell them you are currently, I don't know, and we can do this, we can do a printf, right? Right, we talked about printfs and formatting, using those little substitutors. Maybe we'll have a digit here above the surface, x-axis tilt. I don't know, another digit, and y-axis tilt. Another digit. Okay, and then we can just throw in, right, our height, our x tilt, and our y tilt. Be helpful if I can spell those right. And then we also want that new line, right? New line. So we'll print out our current stats so they can see where we currently are. right? And then we need to ask them, what do you want to do? We'll send the command to the lander. And we need some kind of command here, right? So we need a string for command. Sure. Oh, we need to import random too. Let's import random. A string for command. Keyboard next line. Next line, please. Okay. And now we have to do a bunch of if checks, right? Because they can send us a command, and we need to go see, well, did they send me this command? And if they sent me this one, do this thing. If they sent me that command, do this thing. If they sent me that command, do this thing, right? We have to figure out which command it was. So let's check. So let's say if command.equals ignore case, right? Usually we want to ignore case, because most of the time they're probably going to give us a weird something or other. So how about we say, like, maybe x plus was one command. We'll take our x tilt plus plus, add 1 to it. So if they say x plus, we'll add 1. You could be fancy. You could, like, change x-axis tilt positive, or anything you wanted to tell it, right? Any command that we want to tell the user is okay, we'll make it do something. So let's just see. We're going to take one command at a time and see if that one works. Oops. I've got an infinite loop here. This curly brace should be down here. There we go, because this needs to happen inside that while loop, right? Oh, and then the other thing that should happen, right? Don't forget, height should go down by 1. Right, so we got to take height down by 1. Let's see. Height minus minus. Sure. Let's try that. Okay. Our 10 above the surface, our x-axis tilt is -7, y-axis tilt is 9. All right, so it's x plus. Right, now our x-axis tilt is -6. X plus. X plus. X plus. X plus. I'm getting nervous. There we go. Okay, we can fix the x-axis tilt. We're only 3 above the surface, and we got 9 changes to y. We're going to have to thrusters a bunch. But we don't have our thrusters yet. Okay, so it's looking good so far. Right, so then we want else if command equals ignore case. How about an x minus? Right, so that'll take our x tilt minus minus. Yeah, we could probably do the same couple things here, right? If it's y plus, we'll take our y tilt plus plus. Else, if it was y minus, we'll take our y tilt minus minus. Okay, so we should be able to change the x and y's here, and then we want else if command equals ignore case thrusters or something. Boosters? I think I call it thrusters. Thrusters. Let's take our height plus equals 2. Right, we're going to add 2 to our height here. If we said thrusters. Right, it's going down by 1 every time, but this will take it up by 2, so it gets us 1 higher, which is good. Okay, so let's see if we can get those ones. Let's try those ones out. Oh, our x-axis tilt's already 0 and y is already -1. Okay, so y plus. Right, how about y minus? We've got to try them all out, right? X minus, okay, x plus, y plus. Okay, so I can get to 0, 0. That's good. Let's try the thrusters. Yes, all right, so it takes us one higher, right? Thrusters. Okay, that's fine. Now we were also supposed to be able to have a do nothing, right? Because if we already were lined up, right? If command equals ignore case, I don't know what, nothing. Right, we just do nothing. I don't know, that was a little silly, but that's okay. And then else if our command equals ignore case was self-destruct. Now this one we needed some special handling, right? So self-destruct, if they use this, ask for the cancellation code. Don't let them enter any other command until they cancel. We had a couple questions out in the Discord about, well, are they still going down by 1? They'll probably just go down 1 for this. I don't know if we made them go down every time they didn't answer the cancellation code. We could. That's fancier. But I'm just going to keep them here. So we'll say like, oops, you shouldn't have entered that. Please enter the cancellation code. Right, something like that. Maybe I'll take that down the line. There. Okay, so we need the cancellation code. So we're going to have a string for code, right? And we're going to start it off as, I don't know, something. Here we're going to say while code does not equals ignore case, cancel. And we want not. So we don't want it while it is, we want it while it is not that. So we use the not operator to invert that. And so you can say as long as they have not entered this value, let's keep, here, put that in here. And then we'll have code is keyboard.nextLine. Okay, so if they enter the self-destruct sequence, self-destruct, we're going to say, oops, you should have entered that, please enter the cancellation code, and they will only be able to do something until they give us the word cancel. I mean, they're stuck. We won't let them go anywhere else. That was how I was working about that. And then I think that was all the valid commands needed. Right, do nothing, thrusters, X, Y. I mean, you could have had it managed in the outer loop as well. But that would be a little bit trickier. So if we wanted to do that, we would have to check for, set some sort of flag. Right, so we might have in the outer loop with something like a, it might have had like a Boolean or self-destruct. Is just self-destructing? I don't know, self-destructing. So this gets trickier. Because then we have to check for that here, or maybe that's the first thing you check for. Oh, that's fine. That's all right. So, I mean, this is probably the more awkward way, right? So it is self-destructing equals true, that sort of thing. And then we have to do checks for that, or, you know, like if we're not, we're only allowed to do that. I didn't do the fall if they don't enter the code. Yeah, that's okay. No, I mean, that wasn't super clear, so as long as you have it do it some way, right? The requirement here was the only thing they're allowed to enter is the cancellation code. Like, don't do the other commands until they've entered that code. I think that's in the rubric for it, too. Let's see. Yeah. Only allows them to enter self-destruct mode. Cancel self-destruct mode, no other commands. That's all. So as long as you implemented that some way, that's fine. Then we need, if we didn't recognize the command, we display the list of valid commands. So if it wasn't one of those, right, that's our else. We'll say invalid command. Please use one of the following. And I need to go down a line, right? So we have X plus, we have X minus, we have Y plus, we have Y minus, we have thrusters, thrusters, and I'm sure I'll solve in self-destruct. And do nothing, right? Nothing, thrusters and self-destruct. Right, those are all of our valid commands. That's in our else case here. And if it wasn't a valid command, let's see, we're supposed to only go down by 1 if a valid command was entered. Right, I'm not sure I got that in here very well, did I? Let's see. Yeah, okay, I didn't get that into the rubric very well. But the idea was an invalid command just triggers help and nothing happens. So my thought was, because I took height down automatically, I would not take height down, or I would undo that by adding 1 back to height. Is invalid commands don't cause you to fall. So put height back by 1. That was sort of the idea there. Okay. All right, let's see if we can run it. Okay. So, all right, x tilt is 1, y tilt -8. So let's go x minus, let's go y plus, 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 y plus. All right, we got 1 command left. So let's self-destruct. Oops, we shouldn't have done that. Help. ASDF. Uh-oh. Cancel. Oh, and our loop is done. Oops. We didn't tell them if we won or lost. Okay, so now we need to check that once this is done, right? So when we're all done, if x tilt is equal to 0 and y tilt is equal to 0, you have successfully landed the I don't know. You successfully landed. Sure. If it's not zeros, right? Else the lander was not level and broke, I don't know, upon landing. Good thing there weren't people in there. I don't know, anything you want to say for fun. So if we got our tilts to 0, we won. Otherwise, we broke the lander. You weren't supposed to put people in. All right, and they'll ask if they want to play again. Let's try it. All right, here we go. 9 and -10. Oh man, we got some big ranges there. All right, so we need x minus, x minus, x minus, x minus, x minus, x minus. A bunch of thrusters. I'm going to see if I can copy that. There we go. Got thrusters a bunch. Minus, x minus, x minus. How about just x? Ooh, invalid command. Please use one of the following. Look at that. Okay, that looks good. So y plus, y plus, y plus, y plus. Oops, y plus. Thrusters, thrusters. Y plus, y plus, y plus, y plus, y plus. Y plus, not equals, not equals. Come on, not the equal sign. Nothing, nothing, nothing. And we successfully landed. Look at that, we are good. Mission failed. We'll land them next time, horse. Yep. Okay, so that was working so far. So we got our tilts to 0. That was good. So let's try playing again, and we'll just do nothing every time. Nothing, 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 nothing. And if we come in and we're not level. Oh, lander was not level and broke upon landing. Good thing there were people. Hydration, yeah, thank you so much. I do need some more hydration in my life. Thanks, Fallen. All right. Questions, thoughts, concerns? So a couple loops, right? The loop for play again, the loop for as long as the height's greater than 0. If you wanted to do this loop for the cancellation, great. If you want to put it in the outer loop, that's okay too. You probably did the harder thing. I think this was easier, but either way is fine. And then just a bunch of if checks. Hey, which command did they enter? Which command did they enter? Which command did they enter? Yeah, we've talked about switch statements. I just prefer if else if. That's all. All right, cool. So let me put this out in our GitHub. Come on, computer. Come on. Work with me. All right. 1500. There we go. Okay. And look, project 2. So I can see it's been modified, because I guess I had a blank one before. It's project 2. Okay, I'll commit and push that. Oh, it kept wanting you to change it. Yeah, NetBeans likes to be helpful. I wonder why it wasn't suggesting that for me. I don't think I've turned anything off. It's interesting. I don't know. Yeah, they like switches. I don't know why. Like, and like this equals ignore case is harder in a switch, right? I mean, you can in a switch, but you have to check for lowercase x or uppercase x, or you have to take the command lowercase or uppercase. You just have to do one extra thing. I guess I'm doing one extra thing with equals ignore case, but yeah, you could take this to lower, right? To lowercase, sure. That's fine. Yeah, that's fair. Switches are okay. I don't like them myself. That's all. For no good reason really. I think having to type break every time is what irritates me. Yeah, exclam GitHub there, horse. All the code I do in class is out of my public GitHub repository. Oh yeah, or switch on the command in there, yeah. It looks like it pasted in okay. Oh, it didn't paste all of it. You might have lost a little bit. Yeah, if you're missing some breaks in there though, Biggie. Without breaks, it's going to do some weird stuff. So I don't like switches. Oh, using the little anonymous methods. Interesting. I didn't used to have those when I started. It's my old man story. It's nice. Glad to know they made it easier to use. All right, so we're good with this one. Let's close that one down. And we'll start up a new project for Chapter 5. 5 methods. Oh man, it's in the wrong folder again. That's what I get. Hang on. Close that. I'll get it. Just a second. You can just move these things. It's okay. Here we go. So if I put it in the wrong spot here, there. So I put it in the wrong folder here. So I'm going to go into where I did put it and grab my Chapter 5 methods, and I'm going to cut that out. I'm going to come back to our folder here. I'm going to paste it in. Really just cut and paste. It's really nice. Then I can open the project. Excuse me. Chapter 5 methods. There we go. And then GitHub should see it. Right? Yep, see a bunch of stuff. Oh, you tried to clean it up, Fallen? Sorry. It's yeah. I don't know. I don't think these look ugly, but maybe they do. Maybe I'm just used to it now. That's okay. All right, so we're going to talk about Chapter 5 today, moving on to methods. Now, methods are fantastic. I'm a big fan of methods. Let me make sure I've got this up here. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything here. We've got today and we've got Wednesday to talk about methods. So there's a couple reasons why we'd write a method, or I guess we talk about what a method is first. Grab our slides here. There we go. All right, yeah. There. Pop that over to the side. Okay, I think I'm in good shape now. I think I'm in good shape. So we've been using one method without really ever talking about it. So we're going to talk about what a method is. So this right here is a method. This is the main method. We've done everything inside of main so far, which is okay. That's where we start. So when Java goes to run an application, remember the Java virtual machine reads all that Java bytecode stuff that gets compiled. It looks for the main method and starts there. That's the entry point into the application. Okay? So what a method lets us do is it makes a different block of code that a couple things. One, can be called more than one time. So if I'm going to write another method, so this is outside of the main curly braces here now. Still inside the class, curly braces, but outside of main. We're going to write another method, and what this lets us do is call that method from inside main. So I'm going to say public static void hello world parentheses. So I don't need anything inside. Main needs the string args thing. We don't need that inside of ours. We'll get to that later, what that all is here. And inside this method, I'm going to say hello world. World. Can't talk. That's okay. This is hello world. So public, that's the access modifier. For now, public sign. We'll get to changing this later. It's not all that important. Static is really important. We will not be able to use our method from main if it's not static. Okay, so for now, everything we're going to do in methods will be static. Once we get to chapter 6, that will change. Okay, but we're taking it one step at a time. So public, static, they're always going to stay here. Okay, and then void is, are we going to return something or not? So right now we're going to talk about non-returning methods. So everything's going to be public static void to start. Then we give it a name. This is like a variable name. It's a method name here. Name it just like you would your variables, right? Something meaningful. Typically camel casing, the lowercase letter to start. Okay, so this is our meaningful name for it here. And then the parentheses here is our argument list. Again, for now, we're not going to take any arguments. We'll get to that in just a little bit. We just want to write a method for now. Then we get its own set of curly braces. So everything inside the curly braces will run when we ask for a method to run. We'll say hello world 1, hello world 2, hello world 3. Okay, so everything inside curly braces will run when we ask for a method to run. To ask for your method to run, we just say hello world. So we hello world with parentheses. This is a method call, just like we did keyboard.nextLine. Next line had parentheses after it. That means it's a method. So hello world parentheses semicolon. And if we run it, it's going to run the stuff in hello world. Look at that. And I can even run it more than one time if I want. I can do it a couple times. Right? And it runs a couple times. So what's really cool is so far what we've done in our code, right? When we started off, we said, oh, you don't need that. Clear that off. Okay. We said, here's this main part here. And it runs this line, and it runs this line, and it runs this line, it runs this line, it runs this line, and then it's done. Line by line by line by line. It's done. And then we say, well, really, what we can do, we can have main, and we can have this line, and then maybe we'll run this line, or maybe we run this line, right, with an if and an else, and then we run this line, and then we're done. Right, so we could do if else stuff here, right? So we get those conditionals here. So but it's still going top to bottom, right? And then we said, all right, well, really we can do this line, and then maybe do that one optionally, and then we can get here, and then we can get here, and then we get here, and then we're going to loop back to here and run that again and again and again and again, and then we can be done. Right, so we'd have our if-else, and we'd have loops. The code's still going line by line by line by line by line. If else, sure, okay, either this one runs or whatever we want to do there, and we have loops. All right, run the loop, check it again. Run the loop, check it again. Run the loop, check it again. But we're still going top to bottom. Right? What we're going to get here now, let me slide it over a little bit, is now we get main is over here, it does this line, it does this line, we might do some branching over here, we might do some loops over here, go back to the top. Now what we get is, we'll go over here, we get to say, do this. So here's this. Does line, 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 line. It can be anything. It can have a loop, it can have if else, it can do any of those other things here. It will run that. And we can do that, and we can run some more lines, and we can do this again, we can run some more lines, whatever we want to do, and then we'll be done. So it's essentially breaking this idea of going line by line by line because we're going to jump. It's like, hey, go do this thing, but then it comes right back to where it was before. So we can hello world, we can S out, hi there computer, and then we can hello world again, and then we can come back. Say anything else? Right, and how sad. Right. Oh, I didn't want to debug, that's okay. We get hello world, and we get hi there computer, and we get hello world again, and we get to say anything else, we get hello world again, we say how sad, and we get hello world again. So what we can do, actually running this in debug mode is interesting. So I'm going to put a breakpoint in here, right? Come over to the line number, put a big fat red dot there. Okay. Then when I run in debug mode, it's going to stop when it gets there, and it will let me see all my variables. Now we don't have any variables, so it's really boring. There's really nothing going on there. So we're just going to watch the output here. So I've got a couple options. I've got the step over option, and I've got the step into option. Most of the other ones we're not going to worry too much about. So I'm going to do step into, and I'm going to see now, hey, I'm here at line 18. And you might not have noticed this. You've got this thing over here at the top left. This is the call stack. This is how Java knows where it was. So it was at methods in main, line 7. So it's holding its place. It's saying, okay, I was here at line 7. Now I'm here at line 18, but I'm not done. So when I'm done with whatever's happening here at line 18, come back to line 7. We're going to run 18, we're going to run 19, we're going to run 20. And then that method is done. We hit the curly brace. Now we come back. We've finished line 7. Now we're back to line 8. Okay, let's run line 8. And then let's step in. Okay, so now we're at line 9. So Java's going to remember, come back to line 9. And then run this method. Run all the code inside this method. Okay, so we can see it's going to remember where it is. And what's fun, right, we can write another method. We can have public static void hello human. Why not? Again, public static void, all the same, and then essentially a variable name. It's our name for the method. We'll say hello human. So what we can do is we can call hello human. Let's do it inside of this method. Right? We'll make hello world call hello human. Just for fun. Now let's debug it. And we're going to watch that what's going to go on the call stack as well. Oh, need more coffee. Oh, I took out my breakpoint. There we go. Don't leave the breakpoint in, otherwise it doesn't know where to stop. Okay. So we're currently at line 6. We're going to step in. We're going to come back to line 6 when we're done. Now we're at line 17. So we're going to run line 17. We're going to step in. We're at line 18. And it adds another call to the stack. Now we're at hello human, line 24. When that's done, it's going to come back to hello world at line 18. So we'll print hello human. That method's done. We come back. Now we're at line 19. Right, it'll do that thing. It'll do that thing. Then we'll come back to main line 6. All right, line 6 was done. Now moves to line 7. And we'll step in. Right, now we're at line 17. Great. We'll step in. We're at 18. Now we're at 24. Those numbers might be a little hard to see on the stream. Sorry. And we can see it's just following the calls, right? If we tell it to go do this method, it's going to jump there, do that thing, and then come right back to where it was. And you can have methods call methods, call methods, call methods, call methods, call methods, many times as you want. What you don't want to do is make your method call the other method. So this is a big no-no. And oops. Okay, Because if hello world calls hello human, and hello human calls hello world, and hello world calls hello human, and hello human calls hello world, and hello world calls hello human, oh, what's going to happen? Uh-oh. We're stuck. It's looping infinitely. That was no good. I think I can even see. You know, it probably won't use up a lot of memory. Yeah, I don't think it's using up a lot of memory right now. Okay, so let me stop it here. So one other thing, let me add one other thing. So in methods, we can add variables, right? We can have, you know, int for numbers 42. Sure, why not? And then, no, I don't know. We're not going to use it anywhere, but that's fine. Let's run this again here. I want to see if I can make it work. Slowly, it's going to use up more memory, I think, if we did it right. But it's real slow. That's probably the problem. Yeah, I'm not. It's going too slow. That's okay. So eventually, we'd eat all of our memory because every time we call hello world, it needs to be tracking this value. Okay, that was not all that interesting. Sorry. So methods are great because they let us not only call the code one more, like if we're doing something more than once, we should think, oh, we could do this as a method, right? Because that way I don't have to have the same code in main twice. My general rule of thumb is if you have the same code in your program more than one time, you should feel bad about yourself. That's just a rule of thumb, right? Don't take it too seriously. But, you know, it means there's an opportunity to improve. Okay? That means, hey, we could try a method. So they're great, right? We can just take whatever we were doing and move it out to a method. And it will make that bit of code happen once in the method, and every time we want it, we just ask for it by name. Okay? So let us put a nice name, let us repeat our code. The other thing it lets us do, and I think this is maybe even better, maybe not better, but you know, just as good, is it puts a nice name to what this chunk of code does. Now this was a terrible example, not very interesting. I'm gonna actually undo that. This is a loop. It runs forever. Excuse me. So we can put a nice name to what is this block of code doing here. So again, our hello world's probably not all that interesting here, but that's okay. Right, so that's the other reason here, right? We're gonna break it apart, and we'll have a nice name for what this chunk of code does. What we get to do with that then is we get to divide and conquer, right? We can take a complex problem and we can break it down into smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller problems to make it easier and easier and easier to solve. Right? We'll take something that's hard and big, and we'll break down, okay, here's a little bit that I can solve in one method. Here's a little bit I can solve in another method. Here's a little bit I can solve in another method. So functional decomposition. It's one of my favorite programming terms. It's such a fun one. It's functional decomposition. Right? We're breaking down into smaller and smaller and smaller functions, into smaller and smaller methods. We're decomposing the big problem into smaller ones. So let's take a look and see. So again, this one's not the most interesting thing in the world. We can come up with a better example in a minute. Yep, let's see. Got all that. We got all that. In class. Go ahead, breakfast and get started on your school stuff. Okay. All right, thank you. All right. So let's see. So we got it's all the types, messages. There's a cool way you can do the Java doc with your methods. I trust you guys can figure that out. That way, the helper text shows up when we go call it. Great, you guys can do that. Let's see. What problem do we want to solve? Break it down. Let's do this. I'll leave hello world and hello human, but we're not going to use them anymore. I'm going to take all this out because this was silly here. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a bunch of methods, but I'm not going to write the methods yet. Okay, because we're going to take this idea that I've got a problem to solve, and then we're just going to write the methods that we're then going to write to solve the problem. Does that make a little bit? So we're going to kind of flush this out with, okay, here's the steps I would take to solve it, and then we'll go actually do those steps later. Okay? So the first thing I want to do is I want to get some information from the user, right? And we're going to have to use that information to decide what we're going to do here. So let's say let's see. So we want to, so we'll say ask the user how many days until the project is due. Okay. Boom. That's a long method name, but sure. It's a nice name for what we're doing. That might be a little bit excessively long, but it's for our example here. Okay? And if this method is going to give us a value, we need to assign it somewhere. Right? Like we did like integer.parseInt. We did these things. That returned a value. Right? We would say we had some value. We would assign it. So we're going to do the same thing here. So we're going to say this is an int days until due. Until due is ask the user how many days until the project's due. Okay? Yeah, we don't have a method yet, but we're going to write one that'll do that later. Okay? And then we need to ask them, well, how long is it going to take you to do the project? So this is, I don't know, days to complete project. Or days required, I don't know. And this will be ask how many days it takes to complete the project. Again, probably excessively long. We're just having fun here. Okay? Great. So we got those two things here. And then we're going to have another method that is going to tell them when they should start. Right? So we'll have, so we'll say calculate when you should start the project. Now, some methods, like when we did integer.parseInt, right? So if I had a string for number was 42 like that, and then I had an int for best number, it was integer.parseInt. Usually we were giving it keyboard.nextLine, but you could also, right, you could give it anything that's a string, like number. Oh, you need that in parentheses. Right. So what we were doing here, this is a method called parseInt. We were handing it an argument or a parameter. They're called arguments when you give them, they're parameters when you define them. I don't really care which term you use, one or another, it doesn't matter much. So this one required something, and it also gave something back. So if you need information, right, like parseInt can't do anything unless we give it the thing to parse. So calculate when you should start the project can't do anything until we tell it, you know, the days until due and days required to complete the project. It needs both of those pieces of information here. Okay? So we're going to hand it some arguments. We don't actually need that best number thing. That's nonsense. Okay? So that's our whole program. Right? We're breaking down this, hey, figure out how long until I need to start my project, into methods. And it's not going to, I'm not going to reuse this code more than one time. I'm not going to reuse this code more than one time. I'm not going to reuse this code more than one time. But I was able to divide and conquer. I was able to say, okay, I want to do this step. I'll figure out what I have to do inside of that step later. I'm going to do this step. I'll figure out what I have to do for that later. I'm going to do this step. I'll figure out what I'm going to have to do later. But then I can just kind of have that mental model and say, okay, is this going to get me close to finish? Right? Is this about the steps that I need? And once we have those steps, then we can go and write our methods. And NetBeans says, hey, should we create a method? Yes, create a method. And NetBeans says, should we create a method? Yes, let's create a method. And NetBeans says, should we create a method? Yes, let's create a method. And it should have given us some methods. It did not. Oh, come on, NetBeans. Give me a method. Create method. No, it didn't do it. Okay. It is unhappy with me today. That's all right. So we can go define it ourselves. So public static void this thing. Now the problem is, though, that we don't want it to be void anymore. If I want it to return a value, what I got to do now is I'm going to change this void word. So void means I don't return anything. If you want it to return something, you tell Java what type you want it to return. So public and static still staying. Leave those ones alone. But int now is saying, hey, this method eventually will give you back an integer. So I can use it up above. I can say, hey, I want an int, and I'm going to assign it the value of whatever you give me back. Anything you give me, I'll take and store over here, just like integer.parseInt. We said, hey, any integer you give me, I'm going to store over here. So same idea. So this method then is going to return that value for int something. We don't know what it is yet, but that's okay. So we'll have to figure it out. So inside of here now, we'll need a scanner. We'll call it keyboard equals a new scanner. Sure, our given system.in. And we can ask them, hey, how many days until the project is due? And yes, we need to import scanner. Okay, got that. And then we're going to get some string answer, right? Is keyboard.nextLine. Next line. And then we're going to take that input, right? And we're going to try and convert it. So we're going to have, say, the string number of days until due is integer.parseInt, the answer. Right? Or you could just do keyboard next line right inside here. Right? Either one's fine. Not a string, sorry, that's an int here. Number of days until due. Okay, and then when we're done, now we use a new keyword. We're going to use the word return. So return tells Java to give something back. We're going to return this value. Okay, so that's what our method does. And we're not going to have this code more than once, that's okay. But still, we're going to take this part of the process, part of what we need to do to solve our problem, and break it out into this separate piece. Okay? This one's pretty much the same thing here, right? Static int. Again, we're an int type here because we want to return a value. We want to return something. Really, we do the same thing. I'm going to feel bad about myself here. How many days will it take you to complete the project? Days required, I don't know. And we'll return that. Sure. It's similar, and we can worry about that later. I'm going to feel bad about it for a little while until I show you how to fix it. Okay? And then calculate when you should start the project. Now this one is a little trickier here. So public static. Now we don't need to return anything, so it can be void. Now I have something in parentheses, right? Because we needed to hand it some information. I need to put something in my parentheses here. So I'm going to say, hey, when you call this method, you need to give me some data, some information here for me to work with. And what we do is we tell it the type it is. Is it an int? Is it a string? Is it a float? Is it a double? Is it a whatever, right? And then our name for it. We're going to say int days until due. So I say, if you want to call this method, you have to give me an integer value. I'm going to call it days until due. I don't care what you call it. I'm going to call it that. But we actually need two arguments here. We need both, right? Okay, so you just comma separate. That's a little bit long there, sorry. I'll shrink that down anymore. So if you need more than one argument, you put in more than one. Okay, so days until due and days required to complete project. So these here, we're defining them. These are called parameters. We said if you want to call my method, you have to give me arguments to fill these parameters. Again, the name distinction is a little bit silly here, so don't worry too much about it. Okay? So we're going to pass that argument to the method here. Okay, so now inside of the method, inside the curly braces, I now have a value called days until due, and I have a value called days required. Okay? So we're going to check a couple things. So first, we're going to check if days until due is less than days required to complete the project. That's our first check. Uh-oh. It's too late to start now. Right? Else if, what? Days until due is equal to days required, you need to start now. Start today. Else, right, so if it's not too late to do, and it's not due, we don't need to start today, then we can tell them, oh, okay, you're fine. You can start in, you should start in, I don't know, %d days. So maybe we'll do this as a printf. Why not? With our own new line. And what is that value? Right, the value is days until due minus days required to complete the project. Okay? And then that ending curly brace. So methods get their own set of curly braces, right? That one matches up with this one up here. Sorry, that got a little long. I'll pump that down. Feeling bad about it now. Okay, now you can see it all on one screen. All right, should we try it? This is it. That's the whole program. It's not very interesting. And we're just starting with the basic example. So how many days until the project is due? Well, it's going to be 30 days. And I'm hoping it'll take you, 10. So you should probably start in 20 days. Again, that's, that's in the middle of midterms, so the estimator here is bad, but that's the idea. Okay? This is probably bad advice here. Let's just say start sooner than blank days. There, that's better advice. You should start sooner than the minimum amount of time you need. Right? Give yourself some buffer room here. I like this advice better now. Okay? Cool, so we talked about methods, void methods that don't return anything. They just do something. We talked about methods that return values. Right? You use the return keyword here. And we talked about methods that take arguments or parameters here. Great. We're doing good so far. So it's a little bit after 11. Why don't we take a break? I'm going to go make some coffee. You guys should get some coffee too. And then we can pick it back up with methods. And then we'll talk about the next project as well. Okay? Yeah, it should already be out there on GitHub. Or you mean this methods code? Yeah, I'll do this right now. Chapter 5 started. Yep, you got it. You got it. Commit and push. Yeah, and exclam GitHub there in the chat will tell you where it is. I'll give you a link to all my repos there. Let's see if I can make that work. All right, cool. Let me clear this off. Put on some music. What is going on? Oh, yeah. Okay, sure. All right, and we'll come back in about 10 minutes or so. And we'll go from there. Let's see, so break time. I'll put that one on. Break until about 11:13 or so a.m. All right, awesome. See you guys in a couple minutes. All right, everybody. I think we're back. Sorry to pause that so abruptly. I gotta figure out that fade better one of these days. All right, so we are back talking about methods. Let me go back. Yeah, I don't need that one. And then we're going to talk about the next project. So this next project is going to use methods, and it's going to do stuff with file writing and file reading. It's a lot of fun. So definitely don't take this advice and... Oh no, do take this advice. You should start sooner than the minimum number of required days, for sure. That's right, you fix that. Okay? Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to see, can I have less repeated code? I feel bad that like this is essentially the exact same thing as this, right? Can we do better? Turns out we can. We can do better. So what we can do is I'm going to write another method here. I'm going to call it public static int ask the user for an int result or an int answer. I don't know. And it's going to accept as an argument. It's going to say, hey, if you want to use this method, you have to give me an argument for the string for the question. So if you give me a string question, I can do the same thing here, but I can ask the question. So another good rule of thumb, even if your code is not identical, doing the exact same thing, line for line for line for line, if it's doing the exact same thing except for one variable, if one thing is changing, could we turn that into a variable, like a question here? Well, sure, we can do that same thing. I'm going to cut all that out. We're going to ask for the question. We're going to print out the question. Whatever question they give me, I'm going to print it out, get their answer, result, and return the result. Great. So if we know the only thing that's different between this one and this one is the question that we're asking, let's make the question be an argument. Hey, you give me the question, and I'll do those exact same steps regardless of which is which. I'm going to take that out here. Oops, I didn't want to cut it here. Let's just copy. So now I can change this here to, instead of ask the user how many days until the project is due, we're going to ask for an int answer, and the question is how many days until the project is due. And paste it in quotes for me. Wasn't that so kind? And we'll do the same thing over here. So how many days will it take you to complete the project? Ask the user for an int answer. Here's the question. Okay, so we don't need those other two methods because the only thing that was different is the question. And I'm going to bump those down so I don't feel so bad. Okay, so now I can use the same method here both times. Isn't that fun? Now, something about methods. Now, you'll notice I put the scanner definition inside of here. Because if I would have declared scanner inside of main, scanner keyboard, there's a new scanner, system.in. Sure, we could do that. System.in. But remember when we talked about scope a while ago? Like, especially around if blocks. If you declare something inside of a block of code, you can only use it inside that block of code. And remember, these methods are not inside of main. So anything declared inside of main is not usable in methods. So I can't declare it here and use it later on in the method. Okay, there's another way we could do things. I'm not a fan of it here. I'm much more a fan of passing everything with arguments, but we can. So our other option then is to have a static scanner keyboard equals new scanner given system.in. Well, we can do this. So this is a class level static value. This is usable in all methods. Generally try and avoid it though. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's gonna having more and more static values and class level static values is considered I don't know, not proper code. It's not very clean at that point. So you're better off not doing this. But you could, and then I wouldn't have to redeclare scanner everywhere. Because I can use this instance of scanner called keyboard everywhere else. And I wouldn't need it in here, I wouldn't need it in here, I wouldn't need it in here. Where'd it go? I had one more, right? That one, that one, that one. There we go. 3. That's just going too fast. Okay? So we could do it that way. Again, I frown upon this if we can help it. There's just for keeping things cleaner. Let's try and avoid it if we can. But if you have to use it, you have to use it. That's okay. And let's just make sure it still runs. So if it's project due in 5 days, and it's going to take me 7 days to complete the project. Uh-oh, it's too late to start now. Well, that's probably still bad advice. Like, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know, you should have started sooner. You're going to have to work harder. I don't know. Get some sort of message, whatever, right? That was the idea. Okay? So how's this feel so far? With methods, right? They have nice long names, right? Just like our variables. It's a nice name for what it's doing here. They either can take arguments or they don't have to take arguments. They can either return values or they don't have to return values. We got lots of options when it comes to writing methods. Okay, one method I'm quite fond of is like a menu style method here. So I'm going to do public static string menu, capital S string, menu. Here. And what menu is going to do, this is going to do all that input validation. And it's going to loop, so it's going to say string for choice is equal to, equals an empty string to start. Nope. Goodness. All right. Okay. So I've got a choice, and we're going to say while choice does not equal, not equals, ignore case, does not equal, well, what are my valid choices here? All right. Okay, well, so whatever I want to ask them for in the menu, I want to be looping as long as they haven't entered one of those values. So we might enter rock, and we're going to say, well, it's not rock, and it's not paper, and it's not scissors. Okay, so we'll do this. This is our rock, paper, scissors menu. Okay, so we're saying if you've not entered rock, and you've not entered paper, and you've not entered scissors, we want to keep on going here. Rock, paper, or scissors. And then we can get the choice is keyboard.nextLine. Great, and then it'll go back to the while condition. So if it is rock, saying not rock will be false. And any false, as long as we're anding, the whole thing is false and the loop will stop. We're done, we can return choice. So what this lets me do is it puts the input validation part, here's your choices, give me one of those valid choices, out into its own method. So their methods are great for input validation loops, that sort of thing. Like here's the menu of choices, you give me one of those, right? We could do that same sort of thing with project 2 if we wanted to go change it up. Again, I probably don't want to go change it now. Maybe we'll change it on Wednesday. And we'll look at how we could have done project 2 with methods. Maybe that's an option. We'll see. Okay? So then I know rock, paper, scissors menu will only ever give me back a rock, a paper, or a scissors. Right? Because you can't get out of the method, you can't get out of the loop until it's done. Let me give that a format. There we go. It's a little cleaner looking. Okay, and as soon as it is one of those, we're done, we can return it. So menus are great. They work out really well. Right, passing arguments, yeah, that's good. We're going to get back to that later. We're going to get to that part on Wednesday. Okay. Yeah, I think we're done pretty well on this. That's good so far. All right, so why don't we talk about the next project? Okay. Let me pull this up here. This is project 3. Yeah, this will be file input and output, file reading and writing, and methods, and still loops and if else and all those other things. We don't get to get rid of any of those. Project 3, and we said this will be due in a month, right, by 10 a.m. Okay. We need to make a new grade item. Project 3, projects. Okay, this one's going to be worth 20 points, right? So each project's worth a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. Because we know more things, we can do more things. Okay? And you're going to submit a link to your code on GitHub. Submit a URL to your code on github.com. Okay, so project 3. It's a choose your own adventure game. Okay, so this idea, you guys probably remember reading those choose your own adventure books as a kid. You know, where you make a choice of this or that, and then you have to go to a different page, and then you have a choice this or that, and you have to go to a different page, and sometimes they end terribly, and sometimes there's like one way you can win, making all the right choices or something lets you win the book. We're doing kind of in that vein. It's a terrible text-based adventure game. Terrible text-based adventure game. Okay? So of this terrible text-based adventure game, you guys probably have never played these terrible text-based adventure games before, but there's a famous one named Zork. It's, I want to say like the first one out there. One of the earliest. Okay, sure. One of the earliest. And what happened in Zork is you got a screen. Like, welcome to the dungeon. Right? And then you need to type something in, all by text, and it would spit text back out at you. Let's see if they have any other. It's like, here's a picture of someone playing it. It says, aborted front door. There's a small mailbox here. West of house. You're standing in an open field, yada, yada, yada. Your command that they enter, so every time there's a little caret, or the greater than sign, it's their command. So, open mailbox. Opening the small mailbox reveals a leaflet. Get leaflet. Take it. Read it. Welcome to Zork. So, like, step by step by step, you just give some commands, and sometimes it works, sometimes they don't work. So if it didn't recognize the command, it just did nothing. That sort of thing. I think there's an emulator for it somewhere too, I think. Zork. Later, I forget. It's been a little while since I searched for it. PCJS. Color display. No way. Does this really work? Do we want color? No. Aha! Open door. Door can't be opened. See? We found it. That is so cool. I wasn't sure that would actually work. Yeah, so that's the idea. So this terrible text-based adventure game. Zork is much better than our game is going to be. Don't worry. Our game will be a terrible game. But again, it's just an exercise. Okay? So we have, this has 2 parts. It's 2 parts. A create game mode and a play game mode. Okay? So we're going to either create the game or we're going to play the game. So in create game mode. Okay? The first thing we need to do is we need to get the introduction. Okay? So just like this Zork game had the introduction, right? Whatever it is here. Right? This west of house. You're standing in an open field west of a white house with a boarded front door. There's a small mailbox. That's the introduction. Okay? Ask the user to enter the game introduction and write it to a file named game introduction.txt. Okay, so that's the first thing. So we get the introduction, they write it to a file. Game introduction txt. So the idea is, in create mode, we're going to set up all of these files, and in play mode, we're going to read all of these files and tell them what happens in the story. So someone like me, who's not a very wordy kind of person, is that the right term for it? And not so good with the words with English. I would not be the person you'd want to write your game adventure and do the story mode. I'd have fun programming the back end of the thing, sure. That's more my jam, of course. But this way we could give it to someone and say, hey, you're good at telling a story. Give us a game mode, right? Put it in game mode, write the story out. This is what happens. These are your options, this sort of thing. Choose your own adventure mode, okay? So we ask them to enter the game introduction. Then loop till they are done. Ask for a valid game command. File with that name plus .txt. So, hey, what's a valid game command? Like open mailbox. And they're going to type in open mailbox, so we'll make a file named openmailbox.txt. Okay? Then ask for what happens when the user enters that command. Okay, so if they say open mailbox, well, what happens? Right, so, well, in this case, mailbox. When we said open mailbox, it says opening the small mailbox reveals a leaflet. So if they typed in some whatever message it is, we're going to save that to the file. Write that to the file. Okay, so we create a file, and then we're going to write whatever they said happens to that file. Remember, anytime we're doing a file input and output, you open the file, you read or write it, and then you close it. Make sure you're closing your files, okay? Bad stuff will happen otherwise. Maybe not bad stuff, but it's best to close it, okay? And now our terrible game is, so when they are done, entering commands, use some sort of sentinel value. So some value that you're not expecting that will cause the loop to end. Whatever they're going to enter, like, I'm all done entering commands, is probably not a valid game command, right? Sure. So when they're done entering commands, look for that value, stop that loop, right? And then ask for a secret escape word that wins the game. Write that to escape word.txt. So we're going to have just whatever the word or phrase that wins the game. That wins the game. And we're going to put that in there. So the idea is the player's going to be stuck in this terrible game until they enter this word or phrase. Okay? That's create mode. So again, create mode is not... it doesn't make for a good game, a good story, because every time we enter a command, like open mailbox, we're going to get the same result. We don't need to be tracking whether or not we've already opened the mailbox or if we took the leaflet or not. We're not making that advanced of a game. Right? All we're doing is, here's a command, and here's what happens when you run that command in a file. Okay? So in play game mode, okay, we will read the game introduction file, and display contents on the screen for the user. Excuse me. Okay, ask them for a command. So then, actually this is all in a loop. In a loop that runs till the user has entered the secret escape word, the word or phrase in the secret escape word file, escape word txt file. So like, don't tell them what it is, right? Until they've entered that word, they keep on going. We ask them for a command, look for a file with that name, it exists, display the contents. Again, open the file, read, write the file, close the file. Make sure we're closing, display the contents. If it doesn't exist, tell them they can't do that. Okay? That's it. So remember, we did a little bit with files. I think that's in our GitHub here. I think I did that. Enter, let's take a peek. Exists. I think we looked at this exists command. Yep. So you can check to see if a file exists for a given name here. Right? We're using this exists. So you make a file, and .exists will tell you whether or not that file actually exists. Okay. Oh, you know what? I'm missing two things here. I'm sorry. Two more things that make this slightly more interesting. I'm sorry. So some of our commands are going to wound our player, and a wounded player is going to have to sleep. Okay, so we'll make the command ask if this command will wound the player. If it does, write wounded to the first line of the file. Otherwise, write a blank line. Okay? Then ask for what happens, write that to the file. So a file then, it will say this particular command, you might have like jump in the river. We could say that's going to wound the player, and then they're going to have to sleep and rest and make themselves feel better after. Okay? So if it exists, check to see the player, if it wounds the player, and track their wounded status, then display the contents. If it doesn't this, tell them they can't do that. So if a player is wounded, only allow them to sleep. We use a sleep command. So this one we're going to hard code into the play mode. You know, hey, I want to sleep. I want to get rid of my wounded status. Get rid of the wounded status. And then they can use other commands. Okay, so if the file has wounded as its first line, we're going to mark them as wounded, and then only allow them to sleep, right, to get rid of that wounded status. So if they are wounded, the only thing we should be able to let them do is sleep. Okay, so we need to do this that harder way. I mentioned a harder approach for Project 2, having to use like a Boolean value and tracking that. We're going to need to do that in the play game mode. We can't have that. Huh? You know, that could be an inner loop too, so never mind. That could be a loop as well. Right? They're only allowed to sleep if they've been wounded. Yeah, either approach will work for this one. Okay? So that's the choose your own adventure game, terrible text-based adventure game style. Choose your own adventure. Yeah, there we go. That's not, you don't hit Control S in browsers. That's the wrong thing. All right, and I'll get a rubric updated in a little while for you guys. Maybe we'll talk about it on Wednesday. We can build a rubric together. All right, what do you guys think? So we got some time on this one. It's, you know, it's using file, reading and writing. Right, we talked about that last week. It's using loops. We talked about that 2 weeks ago. It's using method. Oh, that's right, and methods. This was supposed to all be method-based. So this is using methods. I'm sorry, so using methods. There we go. That makes much more sense. I'm losing it here, guys. Did not have enough coffee today, and I just started making it, and I ran out of time before I had to come back up. So the only thing allowed in the main method is calling other methods. Okay, so the only thing you can put in main, like we did right here, is call other methods. Call this method, call this method, call this method. Okay? That's the only thing we're going to have allowed to be used in main. Everything else has to happen inside of methods. And we'll talk a little bit Wednesday about what that might look like. You know, how I might have a method and a method and a method and a method and a method. Right? We want to do that functional decomposition. Right? Take a big problem, break it down into smaller problems. Right? So right off the bat, hopefully you're thinking, oh, well, okay, well, the big problem is the whole thing. A smaller problem is create mode, and a smaller problem is play mode. Sure, we'll break those down. And then how can we break down create mode? Well, create mode, game introduction is one step. Getting valid commands is another step, right? And getting the escape word is another step. So we might have 3 different methods there. Sure, play mode, right? Well, reading the game introduction is one thing. right? Looping while they enter commands is another, and figuring out this wounded thing, maybe another, or maybe that's it. Right? Just thinking, how can we break all this down into method by method by method, break it down smaller and smaller and smaller, so that they're easy problems to solve. Okay? And that's kind of the goal. So hopefully by saying you're not allowed to do anything other than methods inside of main will force you into that, let's figure out how do my methods do things here. Okay? And we'll talk more about that on Wednesday. We're almost out of time today. Do you guys have any questions about this? Thoughts, concerns? We'll pick up the rest of methods on Wednesday. We got a little bit more content to talk about there. We got through a lot of it, which is good. And we can go from there. Okay, no questions? Cool. It's a good sign. Or you guys all just fell asleep. All right, if you don't have anything else, well, have fun. Take care. We'll be back Wednesday, and then the week after that is winter break, and then the week after that is midterm review. So we are just about halfway through now. This is week 7 of the 15 weeks. Awesome. Awesome, glad to hear it. So let me save that. That one's all set. I'll post the rubric for it later. All right, yes, hydration. Thank you so much. Let me put some more music on. Yeah, I even have a closing screen here now. I gotta remember to use this more often. All right, everybody take care. I've got office hours today, tomorrow, Wednesday, just a little bit on Thursday, so let me know. Drop on by if you need it. Want to ask me any questions, we can go from there. Take care, everybody.